Hey everybody, KC here. Do you ever get the feeling that the universe is trying to tell you something? It's funny when I talk to Michael about this, and sometimes I talk to other people who have been in the newspaper business, or the various different kinds of the news business. We've all had the same experience sometimes, right? You're wondering what you're going to write about, and there's a standard line, and Michael and I use this all the time, which is the news gods deliver. And this sort of happened the other day. I was sitting around, I was just trying to think about things I could do on video for this week, and I got an email. I got an email from Marriott, and basically it was called 3 Ways to Elevate Your Workday, and they're offering things called day passes, stay passes, and play passes. And the idea is that Marriott, like virtually every other hotel chain out there, is in trouble because people simply aren't traveling as much. So they're trying to figure out ways to do things like offering day passes, so you could check in the morning and check out in the afternoon, and work in relative quiet. And I will tell you, sometimes it sounds like a pretty good idea sometimes, right? I would have to really trust that the hotel was going to be nice and clean, but the idea of being able to find an isolated place where you get a little bit of work done sounds like a really good idea. And it's a good example of them reinventing themselves. Really, really good idea. Then shortly thereafter, it was interesting. I saw there was a piece in the Wall Street Journal, and the headline was "Come for the desk, stay for the pool." And this was again a story about how a lot of chains like Marriott are doing the same kind of thing, right? They're facing an environment in which people are not using hotels to the same degree they used to. They're trying to find new ways to come at the problem so they can offer different things to customers. Again, a really smart thing for businesses to do. Then there was a story in the Washington Post which kind of underlined the whole thing. And the headline of this one was "America's Luxury Hotels on the Brink." And the idea is there are a lot of luxury hotels out there that are facing a really harder time because they have a much bigger nut than mid-level hotel chains. Luxury hotels where people simply are not going, no business meetings, no weddings, no conferences, no parties. And it's going to be a real big problem as we come up on the holidays, when these places used to be booked out way in advance. And this year, those ballrooms may well be sitting empty. And they're looking for ways to reinvent themselves as well. Clearly, some of them are having problems doing what Marriott is doing. And then finally, I think this is my favorite story that came along about the same subject. And it was again from the Wall Street Journal. And the headline was, "What's the most productive workspace? It might be the pub." And this is how British pubs, again, dealing with the fact that they've been a much slower rate of customers coming into their pubs to have a pint or two, have decided to try and sell some of their space to people to use as workspaces during the week. Now, this might be problematic at the moment because Britain is on a new lockdown because of the pandemic spread there. But again, reinventing their businesses. And this is something I think that all businesses have to do, right? They have to think, okay, we've got all this space, we got these customers. How are we going to reinvent our offerings so that we're relevant to the customers that we've had in the past, and maybe customers we haven't had that we'd like to bring in the future? I think these are all smart things that these businesses are doing. One thing that does occur to me, though, when things go back to some sort of level of normality or reality where people are actually using hotels the same way, I wonder if some of these hotels will maintain some of these new programs that they've started, as opposed to saying you got to check in, you can't check in before 4 and you've got to be out by noon. Will they be looser on those kinds of rules, be more flexible in terms of helping customers get what they need as opposed to fitting into the traditional model that the hotels are doing? It's really important, it seems to me, that even as these businesses reinvent themselves, that they not just be short-term fixes. They have to rethink their business model going forward, because it may be that they'll have an entirely different future as we move out of the pandemic into whatever reality happens to be at that point. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.